up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access Entertainment. As always, please hit that subscribe button. It's right down there and it's free. That enables us to keep coming to you guys as often as possible with as many interviews as possible. So please hit that subscribe button, like our content, share it, talk about it, be about it, each one teach one. We appreciate your guys' support and getting us this far. Now, today we have the honor and the privilege of being joined by one of rap's great artists, spectacular Edo.G. Thank you for coming through, sir.
Salute. Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. And we'll get to this in a minute. But fun fact, Edo.G is the first artist I ever wrote about when I was in college. I reviewed the Roxbury 02119 album from my school newspaper, the Xavier Newswire. So I always, beyond loving his music, I always got a special place in my heart for Edo.G and the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And what was that review, man? I don't know if I ever got that. What was the review? How many stars? How many, what did you give me?
Well, this was in the Xavier Newswire. So it was just a review, just talking about the album. We didn't do a star or a mic system or anything like that. But I gave a little bit of background about life of a kid in the ghetto and just talked about the different songs. And we can get into this part of it right now. The one thing, especially with the Roxbury 02119, and even Life of a Kid in the Ghetto, but more so on the second album, it seemed as though there was a anger and a somberness that seemed to be a little bit more prevalent on the Roxbury album. So one, did you notice that? Did you feel that? And if so, what happened?
I definitely felt that.
So what happened? Because as somebody that studied both albums, I was like, wow, this is a very different feeling from Edo.G.
Yeah. Just frustration of the major label working in the machine and the system, and we were signed to, PWL, then it turned to Chemistry, and Mercury was our distributor, and they made the final call, Mercury. So we had singles, we had stuff that was ready to go, but they never would put out a 12-inch without an album being done. They had different kind of ways that they did their business, and it didn't work with me because we had something hot right now. Let's at least, press it up, test pressing, get it to radio, let's go. I was about that, and they were really slow, and we just had a lot of difference of opinions. And I didn't like the direction that they wanted the music to go, and whole bunch of difference of opinions, with that label at the time. So
what was the direction Mercury wanted you to go in, or was it Chemistry, or both?
No, it wasn't Chemistry. Chemistry was always cool. It was always the problems with Mercury. It just, they didn't, I don't know, we bumped heads a whole lot, around that time. I was young, 20, I signed the deal when I was 20. So by around that time, I was like 22 or something like that, going on 23. So I was young, I was hot-headed, and, there was just a lot of, I can't really say specifically one thing because it was a culmination of a lot of things. I mean, even when we did Soul Train back then off the first album, they wanted us to wear suspenders and no shirts and weirdo shit. So it was like,
wait. Soul Train?
Those.
Soul Train wanted that?
Yes. No, Mercury.
Whoa.
Mercury Records. And we refused. We was like, well, I'm not doing Soul Train. This is a lifelong dream, but I won't be on Soul Train with suspenders. And then they caved, let my boy go to the Gap, get us some freaking jean suits, and we were good to go. But, just shit like that. So there was a lot of, and then the music, certain records they didn't like, they might have thought were too political or too whatever. So there was a lot of stuff that I wasn't really, adjusting to at that time. And I was kind of in an angry space at that time with radio, with the industry, with just a lot of, the way the shit was, that I found out this is how it works. Oh man, now that I'm in it, this is how it works. Oh, so it was kind of a big wake up call, and just a tug of war.
Yeah. Now, for Soul Train, was that to promote Bugaboo, or was that for I Gotta Have
That
It?
was Be a Father, I Gotta Have It. Because we went out to LA and we shot the videos for Bugaboo and Be a Father in LA, and then we did Soul Train and the promo. That was after I Gotta Have It blew up. So I Gotta Have It blew up. Then they said, okay, now we can get behind you, and now we're gonna fly you to LA. We're gonna do, we're gonna push the buttons now for the machine. We're gonna. So that's what started happening, and it was just really fast, and a lot of people to deal with, a lot of different entities in a major label that you deal with, PR, A&R, this R, that R, every R you can think of, you know what I mean? So it was just a lot, man.
Okay.
And certain things they didn't, they wouldn't bring the Bulldogs. Oh, it's just promo. We just need you to go. We're not flying them in. So it's just me by myself doing a lot of promos. So it was, I didn't like that. I wanted my boys with me and not somebody from the label.
Go figure. Go figure. But speaking of the Bulldogs and the history, let's rewind it for a second, because I had read way back in the day, and I'd always been meaning to ask you, the Edo.G, wasn't that one of your first or early names? And
that was my b-boy name.
So then why did you change to Edo.G?
Because by the time I got my deal, my management, Awesome 2, Teddy Ted and Special K, they were like, man, the rock is old. Like, it's like 80s, man. We're going into the 90s. Like, you got to figure out a new name or something, And I was like, all right, I just dropped the rock and just added a G because it sounded good. So it had nothing to do with OG in LA and all of that. But when I got to LA the first time when Mercury pushed the buttons, it was like, OG. And I was like, what it meant something different. I was like, oh, wow, man. So, it kind of worked.
Okay. And then before you really were going to New York too, how did you link with Joe Mansfield, who ended up doing a production, and what made him and Do What I Gotta Do such a significant song for you?
Man, I linked with him through my man Money One, who was one of the Bulldogs, aka now he's acting up. If y'all hear about him out there, that's my boy. So I met him through him. He had moved out to a suburb outside of Boston called Medford, about 15, 20 minutes away, by car or whatever. He had moved next to him, and he was like, yo, this white dude I know got beats. And especially 89, that was the time that I met him. It wasn't a lot of producers, and producers were kind of like hoarders. They were weirdos. You had to really know them to go and do stuff with them. So it was hard finding a producer, especially in Boston. So he's like, yo, you got beats, come over, come link up with him. And I went, and we sat down, and, I rapped and we played beats, and we clicked instantly. Like, he was a dope producer looking for a dope MC, and I was the same thing. So it just worked. And then we just started recording. He had a studio in the basement, and, I had books of rhymes at that point. And I was just in there recording, and we made the demo, gave it to the Awesome 2, and the rest is history.
Okay. So with Teddy Ted, I remember reading somewhere many moons ago, is he actually your real cousin?
Yeah, he's my cousin through marriage. My grandmother actually married his uncle.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so that's how I met them. My grandmother back in the 80s is like, oh yeah, you got some family members that is into music. I'm like, oh really? Give me that number. And that's it. What's up, cuz? Hey, let's go. And so I started sending them my demos in late mid 80s, probably like 87, 88. And then 89 is when I linked with Joe, sent them that one, and they were like, yo, this is dope. We can really do something with this. And boom.
And then is that when you started going down to New York to be with Awesome 2 and recording stuff down there?
Yeah. I started going around 89. I started going down there. was the first time I went. Before, like right after I sent them the demo and all of that, they liked it. And this is before we got the record deal. I had went down to go hang out with them. Got to go to the Latin Quarter before it closed. Got to go to Roxy, a bunch of classic places, and was seeing. This is '89 for me. I still had posters of these guys hanging up in my walls in my room at home, and I'm seeing Kid and Play and Biz Markie's DJing and meeting Sal from the Roxy. This was just mind-blowing things, stuff that I was seeing on TV. I'm actually chilling with these people, and in these clubs, this is where Beat Street was filmed. Wow. And I'm coming from the B-boy mindset still, like, whoa. So it was a great, great experience. And then once we got the deal, we was in New York and Jersey, all the time. We were down there for months, on top of months, recording and doing promo, doing, God knows what, especially in the 90s. It was wild in New York.
Right. And so what, even though Teddy Ted, Special K, Awesome 2 were getting you in these doors, you weren't in the game as an artist per se yet. So what were some of the things that, this is how it works? Even at that point, you were seeing how things operated differently than what you imagined. Because for me, growing up in Maryland, growing up in Maryland, I had similar experiences when I started getting in the mix a little bit. So for you, what did you see? What did you learn? And how did that help shape you?
Well, I went to a lot of Nice and Smooth shows because they had just finished that album. It had just came out. It was cracking. It was, blowing up everywhere. So Ted was DJing. I was like on the side of the stage for a bunch of shows throughout, New York, New Jersey area in that time. And, I got to see how to rock a show because, Nice and Smooth, one of the greatest hip hop collectives to get on the stage and do it. So I got to get a lot of knowledge from them. And then I actually seen Payola back then. It was Chuck Chillout. We went up to BLS. I don't know why we went up there, Ted and them, we had to go. So we went, Chuck was on the air. This is when Flex was his DJ. And this is way back, man, like 90, 91. I mean, Funkmaster Flex wasn't even Funkmaster Flex. He was just the DJ for Chuck Chillout show. So went up there and Chuck was showing Ted and them all these checks. This is from Elektra. This from Def Jam. And I mean, these was thousands of dollars, maybe 10,000 for like 1 month of playing. I was like, whoa. So this is how it's working. Oh, man. That was another level of stuff, man. I had never seen, I mean, everybody knows that it happens and it's under the table, but I seen that with my own eyes. Checks.
Yeah, because 10,090, that's a lot of money in 1 month.
A whole lot. You could have bought a brownstone in Brooklyn for that. That was a down payment, like, you could have paid it off in a couple more years. Like, yeah, so I mean, that was a lot of money that these labels were dishing out. And I mean, when you think about it, everything was a lot of money back then. Videos were $30,000, $40,000. They did, it was like $30,000 to do I Gotta Have It. And that's black and white. You know what I mean? So everything was super expensive back then. You know what I mean? And people were getting paid.
Yeah. So what, as Awesome 2 were shopping your Edo.G and the Bulldogs demos around and stuff, what made Feel Like a Nut be such a big deal to end up helping you get your deal?
I don't know. It was shout out to Brian Chin, the A&R. He used to be the A&R for Profile. He signed Special Ed, Rob Bass. So this guy has an ear. And he comes from the house, genre. But he had an ear for hip hop. And he signed Diamond D as well, too, just to name a few. So he was, that song actually, he loved it. And that's what made him want to sign us. So, and it was just a kind of play around song for us, like the beat, let's talk about girls and, all of the crazy stuff when you're young like that. So, yeah, I just thank God that he heard it, and it caught his ear, and he wanted to hear more. And that song wasn't a single or anything. We made all of the singles for the first album after we got the deal.
Yeah.
So
That
like I Gotta Have It, Be a Father, Bugaboo, none of those singles were on the demo.
which is crazy because in my opinion, those are some of the best songs on Life of a Kid in the Ghetto. But it's just crazy that people tend to think, oh, when you do a demo, those are your best songs, but often they're actually not.
Yeah, they're not. You probably keep a couple of those demo songs, and you work on a whole new thing because you have that new energy. And you might be working with different producers that the label might suggest. They might have producers, that they work with. So, it's just a different energy. And working with Ivan Doc Rodriguez on that first album was an amazing thing for me. I learned a lot in the studio from him.
DJ
One of the
Doc.
best, one of the best engineers to ever do it in hip hop.
Absolutely. So at the first time I really remember was on BDP on the second album by All Means Necessary. They were shouting them out. DJ Doc's Down With
Yep.
Us. I'm Still Number One. So what was he doing, or what did he do that was so special when you were working with him?
Well, first of all, I Gotta Have It. The bass that you hear in that is all DJ Doc. It was just the sample. So we didn't have Joe had filtered the bass under a little bit, but you couldn't really, hear it. I mean, DJ Doc brought this thing to another level. And he did the mix on the 12-inch. I Gotta Have It. I don't know what it's called, dub mix or something like that, where it's just a beat and the sample. I'm MCing, and it's just the drums and a lot of different parts of the. He did that too as well. So he was just a amazing engineer to bring out those beats, to make those drums crack, to all that stuff you hear is him. We did the work, but he made it to what it is today. Like, so he was just and he was such a cool dude to be so well respected in the industry, and to be, like one of the top engineers at the time. Such a really cool, down to earth guy.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you shouted him out because he is definitely had his hands on a lot of phenomenal albums.
Super classics, man. Classic on top of classic on top of classic. So,
Yes. So on I Gotta Have It, you also have the acronym for the Bulldogs. So how did you guys come up with that, and why was that important to you?
Especially at that time, everything meant something else. People wanted to have things that meant something else. So we were, about that as well. And we wanted to represent what we represented, where we were from, what we were about. And that, we all came up with it collectively, and that represented what we were about. So that's how we did it. We wanted it to mean something, not just Bulldogs.
Okay. And then with the Bulldogs, T9, G-Man, DJ Cruz, like break down what their roles were with the group and how they worked with you and what they did.
It was more than just freaking rapping. I mean, at the time they both rapped, T and G. And they had their own thing, the Bulldogs. They were actually the Bulldogs. They were doing their thing on that front. Cruz was the DJ, and they really was the hype man during the Bulldogs, the Edo.G and the Bulldogs thing. But they contributed a lot with, helping me with hooks, different things that's kind of more behind the scenes than in front of the scenes. And they were, my best friends as well. So, I grew up with those guys. So, they were just a part of it. When, just like anything else, when if you make it, you bring in your peoples with you. You know what I'm saying? So that was our motto. And we actually have a new album. Last year was our 30th year, but due to COVID and, all the restrictions and things just becoming back open late last year, we postponed it. We're going to put it out this year. So it's done. We got a new album with all of us on it. Super dope. I'm excited to bring that to the world. People can, they put out a bunch of albums themselves over the years independently, but now you can hear us collectively, as a whole group doing our thing. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, well, I definitely am looking forward to that. So congratulations.
Word.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the D.O.C, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.